Welcome to the Data Masterclass Podcast, where data leaders share their unique stories. In this episode today, we talked with Alexandra Caraghiulea, who is Data Domain Owner Customer Interactions and Engagement at ABN AMRO Bank, about the topic, how ABN AMRO Bank is using AI to transform customer engagement. Let's welcome your host, Dr. Alexander Borek.
Hello, data and AI leaders. We have today a wonderful episode looking at customer interactions, customer engagements in a B2C context in the banking industry. And I think for that we have, the best person we could find for you worldwide, which is Alexandra. Alex and I used to work together actually at Gartner long time back. It was a lot of fun. We've done a lot of also marketing analytics, marketing AI strategies for banks and for other kind of industry verticals. And yeah, a few years later, I mean, you basically joined ABN AMRO a while ago, and you've been through several years of innovation, actually quite impressive innovation. We had you speaking at a masterclass event already about that. And today we are here to unpack your story, Alex. And I think I think what I really love about that story is how early you started to use Gen AI and Agentic within a very conservative industry. And I think I'm quite impressed also of your company, ABN AMRO, to have done that journey so early on, because it's a major bank in the Netherlands and in Europe. And so I think it's really something which we haven't seen so much in the financial industry. So that's also hope for everyone working for other banks that you can actually do that in that context. If you can do that in that environment, you can do it anywhere. Welcome to the show, Alexandra.
Thank you so much, Alex. And I could not have phrased it better. And let's say we know each other way back. But in all fairness, I would not have stayed with a company, particularly in the financial services space, if it wouldn't be this way. It's not who I am. So yeah, indeed, I'm happy to share more. And I hope we can inspire not just the folks in banking and in the insurance industry, but also beyond, because some stuff I think is quite impressive. At the same time, the world we live in is so complex and everything goes so fast that I think we also should have more often honest conversations on dilemmas and limbo moments, because we do have those as well.
Well, naturally, I mean, in a large regulated environment, you must have them. And I mean, everyone has them in any industry, even startups have them. So that's why we're here for. That's why we have the Data Masters community to share openly what works, what doesn't work, and how to overcome challenges. And so, but let's go into your story, Alex. So where should we start that story? Where did it start? And maybe before we go into the story, let's do a cliffhanger moment where you say something like let's start somewhere later in the story, and then we go reverse back to where it started. So when you basically would describe your story, what is the story about? Before we jump into the beginnings of that story.
All right. Well, let me just start with some aspects I am incredibly proud of. And it's one thing that a person says they're doing great. It's another thing when you get confirmation and evidence that you're actually doing quite well. So last year we received as ABN AMRO quite some awards. I'm not going to come with the entire list now, but I'm just going to pinpoint two of them that honestly made my professional heart sink. Also because it is a nice confirmation that we are doing the right things and we're staying ahead of the game. And again, if you add the context of a heavily regulated bank that really struggled for the past probably 8 years or so with compliance related requirements and remediation actions, I think it's quite impressive. So the first award I'm super happy about comes from Databricks. They're one of our preferred vendors, and honestly, I would call them a partner because we influence each other quite a lot, and we're grateful. But knowing that in 2025, ABN AMRO is the data and AI industry leader for financial services and insurance
worldwide,
feels good. Well, I wouldn't say worldwide. I think it's more Europe, but still, it's a very good starting point. And let's not forget, Alex, that Europe is the heaviest regulated continent in financial services in the world. So for us to be, let's say, a global player, we have to have more presence outside Europe, which unfortunately today is not the case. So that's the first award. And I will tell you a bit more about what I'm doing at ABN AMRO in the customer interactions and engagement space. But if there's something I really want to convey is we operate in the digital space and everything we do is for the customer. So last year, another award that makes me and us extremely proud is that we were determined to be the digital leader in banking in the Netherlands in 2025. And mind you, we have heavy competition from, let's say, our direct banks, the INGs, the Rabobanks, and the others. But let's be real, we have a lot of incumbent banks and neobanks such as Revolut that eat up the market share every single year. So I'm quite proud of that as well.
Cool. And so when you say, okay, what you achieved is, in like a few words, it's basically bringing AI into the customer interaction world. Is that right? And creating a better customer experience,
Absolutely.
smoother customer experience.
I'm just going to give you a flavor of what we have in place, Alex. And again, it's meant for inspiration purposes, but maybe also for challenging purposes. We always challenge ourselves. And every time I share bits and pieces of our AI portfolio, and mind you, we have a quite relevant, somehow impressive or not, BI and analytics portfolio, and we do a lot of advanced analytics as well. So we don't just do AI, we actually do the whole spectrum, right? But in there, we keep an eye on what is the return on the efforts that we currently put into, among others, also AI. And the reality is, per annum, we bring probably in between 10 and 15 million euros to the company with the help of our, and now I zoom into AI portfolio. And what do we have in there and what do we do specifically? I'm going to try to share a few examples. So we have decision intelligence services because we want to be a hyper-personal conversational bank that follows the client throughout their lives and is as relevant as possible at all points in time. So that's one. We are a conversational intelligent bank. We were the first ones in Benelux to have Anna as our conversational chatbot many years back, I think already 7 years back when I actually joined the company. We have a complete engine that generates and prioritizes leads, commercial leads automatically across all the customer base. And it took us years to get here, by the way. It's not something that you snap a finger, you put in production and it just works. It doesn't. We start to utilize the customer lifetime value to make strategic, tactical, and operational decisions across the organization. It actually works. We have marketing spend optimization because, in all fairness, out of the top 5 banks of the Netherlands, at least, we have the smallest marketing budget. And if I compare to, again, a neobank, I won't call them, again, the UK-based ones, they have at least times 6 our marketing budget. So the fact that we need to optimize every single year and in reality every single quarter is key. And we can actually do it. And we started last year, Alex. We have a lot of colleagues that work in the content space. And I cannot tell you how cumbersome it is when you have not really simplified operations across all your digital channels. We are in the course of simplifying. But then being a customer experience or UX designer is not easy these days. And last we started to work side by side with these amazing colleagues, super creative people, by the way. And we started to generate content and help them across very cumbersome, fully automatic processes, such as the approval process for content. If you're a bank that has a very high standard when it comes to, let's say, the perception of the clients in the market, this has to be more than top notch, and it has to be probably seen by a lot of people before it is approved. And we are trying to do that fully automatically these days so that we lift up the spirits of these amazing creative people and we offer to our clients that hyper-personal experience that we promise we will bring to their fingertips. that makes me quite proud.
Amazing. And you also mentioned this decision intelligence. Can you give us a glimpse what that means? Like which personas are kind of empowered here?
Well, ultimately, our ambition, Alex, towards 2028, and mind you, we've started probably 6 years ago, so it's a multi-year journey where and investment and a lot of stamina and perseverance is required. But ultimately, our ambition towards 2028, with the help of key elements like decision intelligence services, is to offer a 24/7 personalized banking experience to every single one of our customers.
So it's a decision engine for the customers to get the right.
So I'm not talking
that's really
about
cool.
personas anymore.
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
we have P&L.
It's your customers basically, your end customers.
Exactly.
And both commercial and B2C, B2B, B2C, or are you focusing on one of these?
No, I'm actually focusing on the entire customer base. So we have the
retail
both customers. You're missing one, Alex. We're focusing on retail customers like you and me, regular individuals. We are also focusing on business clients and ecosystems. So those are the small, medium enterprises, but
like
also
Data Masterclass. Yeah.
Exactly, like you guys. You would definitely fit in if you want to have presence in the Netherlands, but we do have very good presence in Germany. So, hey, we can have a talk. Then we service the corporate banking customers. You can also think of institutions here. And actually, a lot of the action, Alex, and that brings me a lot of joy because 5 years ago, we literally had nothing in that space. We do a lot with our wealth management customers across.
Cool. Yeah, that's a great one.
Really cool. Yes. So
wow.
That's the ambition. We have a lot already built internally and of course also with our partners. Think of generating next best actions. Think of automatically creating audiences for campaigns, which should make the life of a marketeer easier and a bit more targeted on activities that add more value from a human perspective. Again, customer lifetime value is a part of it, and many, many, many more components and mini engines that we have built that we're trying to orchestrate to literally bring that to the customer. So the right message at the right time, service to you in your preferred touch point or channel, and in a personal way, as in with the right tone of voice. Because Alex, you and me are pretty similar, I think, but we still would like to be approached in a certain way. Yeah,
yes,
we are all
everyone is special.
Yeah,
everyone is a special soul. Wonderful. And so if you look at your engines, what would we say are the top 3 engines? That had made the biggest impact on these journeys, on these customer journeys, and in particular combined. I would be curious to hear like other 3 that are really combined, giving you, more than the sum of the whole. The whole is more of the sum than of the parts. Kind of moments.
Yeah, I have to say, Alex, is a bit hard to choose because on the one hand side, we strive to bring this unique experience, right? Hyper-personal experience to every single one of our customers in the customer base. On the other hand
side, you have recommenders, I guess.
And we also have recommender systems. We have.
What is important for that one? What is important for this one?
For the recommender system.
For the kind of hyper personal experience. Which engine is most important for that one?
I would say the most important engine ultimately is the one that determines the next best action, which is most relevant for that customer at what point in time, and again through what preferred channel, and with the right tone of voice. So that is the ultimate orchestrator, if you want. There we have specific models that determine what is the preferred channel for a customer at different points in time. That evolves, right? For some people, it's the mobile banking app. For some other people, it's always the web one, etc. So we have multiple options there. It is still quite difficult to choose in such an engine which continuously evolves, right? What should get priority? We have different types of messages, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What goes first? Do we need to always prioritize a compliance-related action and message because we have a risk of a fine in 6 months from now?
Got you. So there's like a balancing act as well.
Exactly, versus something which, from a commercial perspective, makes a lot of sense because we see that the user has been twinkering with the idea of maybe getting a new type of loan for the past 3 weeks in our behavior user system model. So it's a combination of a lot of things that, when combined, hopefully will make the best choice, and for the customer, for the bottom line of ABN AMRO. That's the philosophy around it.
And do you use a North Star metric for that, or is it more like a balancing it? It sounds like more a score, like a balanced scorecard approach, than one North Star,
Oh, you bring me back in time, Alex. That's a little bit how a lot of the colleagues working longer for ABN AMRO saw it when we first pitched it. And mind you, this was pitched first time back in 2019. So it's not something that was created overnight again. You could use that analogy. However, I think it's and way too static, and it misses the whole point. So when you combine all these modules and models and mini engines, and I hope soon a lot more agents, if not an army of agents that we can deploy to pick up some of the cumbersome tasks that we try really hard to integrate and orchestrate ourselves with more deterministic models. I think it doesn't do it justice anymore, this analogy with a balanced scorecard. They're again different ingredients that go into the mix. Not all the ingredients are as established, well understood and scaled up, Alex. So not everybody in the customer base gets an automatic newsletter every 2 weeks or 1 month with, for sure, the most relevant topics for them. That's not the case yet. Yes, we have recommender systems that do it for more than 50% of our customer base, definitely for all the retail customers, for those affluent customers that are between retail and wealth management. For wealth management, we managed to automate this to the bone. But when it comes to, for instance, our corporate banking clients, we're not there yet for different reasons. Capacity constraints, choices that we need to make, a lot of migrations that we need to undergo every single year, because I would say people look at successes and showcases of what we are capable of doing, particularly towards our customers. But what we also need to understand is, if you want to keep up with a lot of the things that are happening in the market, you have to change your infrastructure, architecture components, your AI capabilities all the time.
And the way you run your business.
Exactly.
Which is probably the hardest one.
Exactly. And that means, I'll be real, next quarter, 70% of my engineering capacity will go to migrations. And that's not up for debate. We have to do it. And that comes at the cost of maybe scaling some of these things up, maybe moving faster in automating the marketing cycle, etc.
But going back to your engines, because those engines are super, super innovative, like in particular combining the different engines, I guess that creates kind of some of the magic moment. So and things like a next best action, are you optimizing for engagement there? Is that your main kind of way of optimizing for? I know there were also some other kind of things like regulatory things that you need to show, but in general, like is it about engagement or commercial goals or view, like clicks? What is the typical kind of thing that helps a lot? And I know it will be more complex.
Well, I'll simplify, Alex, but again, I will be as transparent as I can be. It's about all the above. So the balancing act with our next best engine, next best actions engine, is to, in an educated fashion, choose what goes first. Is it something regulatory? Is it something that makes maybe 85% commercial sense? Gotcha. Or is it something that heightens the engagement with the customers, or something which is more service related? For instance, we see that the customer,
like a magic moment for the customer, where they get a better service.
And these things are always competing against each other. So the three.
So it's like cooking, You're cooking with different ingredients here.
And at different points in time, looking at the different objectives, key results of the company, our commercial results of the quarter. We have to put all these into the mix. We even have like a KPI framework that fits this next best action engine, so that it becomes a bit more intelligible also for the engine. At the end of the day, it's machine, right? For the engine to allocate those percentages that we can use in choosing what to send to not yet a group of one, so not yet an individual, but
course,
to a more granular group of
segments, micro segments, basically.
Yes.
Right. And if you take any of these journeys that are already live, which means public, and you can talk about it because it's public, customers can experience about that. Any of the customer segments you would love to talk about, where you would give us a glimpse of how they would experience this from their perspective, if you could take us through a customer journey and take any you are most proud of, where you say, hey, this is the coolest.
Well, you know what, Alex, I'm not going to mention the work that happens towards, let's say, retail customers, because everybody talks about them, to be honest. Or people have working in banking have the tendency to choose that one because the volumes are high. And actually, you can do a lot of behavioral user analytics. And I would say in terms of outreach, if you have a very clear digital strategy that digital goes first, it's in my view, a bit of a less complex story. I'm going to take some examples that are maybe not as popular and not many companies, particularly banks, talk about. So I am actually quite proud of how far we've come with two customer segments. One being the corporate banking segment, where we, again, as the name indicates, we have all the large corporates that we service and institutions. The other one being the wealth management space, where, in all fairness, we try to be very, very attentively and carefully servicing our wealthiest population of customers, who are typically and very unique and very, very picky in terms of
they have standards. They have high standards.
They have very high standards, and for all the good reasons, right? Well, let me start with corporate banking, Alex. So in the corporate banking space, we started from pretty low and we started late. That means in there, the bankers were pretty much winging, if I can call it this way, and it's an unpopular opinion, but I think it reflects the reality, I'm afraid, a few years back. The preparation for their client conversations. There were very limited conversations every single quarter, every single year. There was no proactive outreach, so the bankers would not dare to call their corporate clients unless they had an appointment scheduled probably 3 months back. It was a very static, if you want, engagement with customers, which involved...
It's like slow chess.
Voila, I think that's a good analogy. So a lot of hours, if not weeks, was going into preparing these rather daunting conversations that were planned way ahead with these clients. Sometimes the clients would not make the time, or they would cancel last minute, and then the next opportunity for you to speak to that client would probably be 3 months from then at the earliest. So I would say the start was pretty grim, considering where the world is today. Well, fast forward 3 years, Alex, we have almost tripled the amount of client conversations from a corporate banking banker, that's how we call them, our dear colleagues. And more than half of these conversations are proactive, and that is the corporate banking banker calls their clients, the clients are engaged. We make sure via generative AI solutions that we prepare their meetings, that all their meetings are summarized immediately after the call is over. It's typically a video call, because we do not have that many branches left in the Netherlands, at least. And in a few months from now, what we want to release for these bankers and also for the wealth management bankers is that a presentation is prepared, also via generative AI, and the presentation is actually changed and adjusted based on the conversation between the banker and the client in real time, so that the changes are reflected as the conversation goes. And when the conversation ends, the work of adjusting the presentation and the next steps is done automatically for the banker. That's something most of our colleagues in corporate banking could not even dream of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's just one example. And in the wealth management space, I would say similar evolution and an incredible drive, Alex, particularly in the countries outside the Netherlands, who have quite some limitations in terms of capacity, infrastructure, functionality that comes or not to them. They are developing their own solutions, and we are here to even scale some solutions up from, for instance, from France, bring them to the main bank, because they're so innovative and they make so much impact for our customers. So I really love these examples because they're not traditional in that sense.
No, they're very unique, and I think you're on the forefront of what I've seen in that industry, what I'm seeing right now in the industry. I mean, there are always some scale-ups, but you can't compare that because it doesn't mean that you have the customer base. Like it's something else to have something as a prototype, as a scale-up. Hey, you could do this, and something else having that in your banking environment with your wealth customers and corporate customers kind of up and running. And so I think this is very unique, and everyone in the finance industry who's watching this, that's your new benchmark, I would say.
Well, and I want to throw one more thing in there that caused a lot of commotion 2 years ago, Alex, but right now, I hope I'm speaking on behalf of everyone in, again, these two spaces, but obviously the same applies to our retail customer space. And internally, they're called performance dialogues. And that's basically when particularly human advisors, we still have them because that's a differentiator for us as a bank at ABN AMRO. And those performance dialogues typically take place once a week even. And before, they were not just very manual, but very, very subjective. And it depended on the advisor, how he or she couples their work and their results to the KPIs or the metrics of the unit and let's say the business line. And it was not really working. And a lot of time of these very valuable people was spent on not having a conversation with clients. So when you are in a situation where the performance is very fluffy and subjective, and you probably spend as an advisor 25% on billable work, as we used to call it in consultancy, right? It's not fine. So 2 years ago, we started a revolution, and we made all performance dialogues data-driven, I think is how they like to call it. We could call it something else, but I think this is something everyone understands, to the point that 2 times in the week, we have personalized cockpits for every single layer. So for the advisor, for their managers, for the sector leads, for all the way up to the chief commercial officer of that unit, or the expo member. And guess what? They are based on metrics which are cascaded from the executive board to the next layer, next layer, next layer, and to the next layer. And we've brought that 25% time spent with the clients to way higher in the last 2 years. And we've added those proactive client conversations, which are super valued by our clients. And that for me is also, is it fully generative AI and AI at work? No. Is it extremely impactful for the organization with maybe more good old analytics? Yes.
Amazing. Maybe you can take us a little bit through your journey as well now at this point. Like where were you a few backs when you started? And we don't need to go through every nitty-gritty detail, but just the main phases, of evolution that you've been through, because that can also give a little bit of a map for others, who are early in the journey. And maybe what you encountered during these phases, imagine your guide, guiding people up the mountain, what were your main phases and your main learnings in these phases, or the main challenges and how you overcame them?
Sure. I'm thinking how to start, Alex. Should I start from today backwards, or should I start from when I joined the company forward?
Let's go back when you joined the company, All right. What was the...
Let me start with what made me come to ABN AMRO in the first place. I have to be honest, it was not my dream to work for a bank. Even if more than 50% of my time for almost 20 years now, I always spent somehow in financial services.
That's how we met.
That's how we met also. Indeed, so.
You were always there when we were doing finance work, kind of. But yes, I was also doing, work with manufacturing, and I never met you there. I always met you in the bank.
Well, I think we did cross paths in pharma as well, pharmaceuticals, but indeed, most
True.
of our
Yeah.
common projects were in banks,
Yeah.
and that is indeed
And we had lots of fun already back then. So banking can be very exciting. And we don't know. Back then we were working with board level of a bank where we were shaking up quite a few things. And so it can be a lot of fun when you take a bit of a disruptive mindset and you get the board excited about this.
for sure, Alex. And the two of us are definitely disruptors or agents of change, as I think many people would call us still. But indeed, and one of the projects we did back in the day in Brussels, I won't name any names, actually helped me get on board at ABN AMRO and convince me to take some of those learnings and disrupt things at ABN.
And
So
implement that as a leader, basically. And you directly joined as a leader, is that right? After your consulting career at Gartner?
indeed, so I would say for now it's almost 2 decades that I'm in this beautiful, amazing, vibrant market of data and analytics. And with ABN AMRO, I'm already with for 7 years, which is a very long period of time in the career of someone like us. But let me start with the beginning, Alex. So the reason why I joined ABN AMRO is threefold. I had, as a manager, a very innovative, open-minded chief digital officer who said, "You're going to have freedom to basically excel here, and I'm going to make sure, together with the chief technology officer, that it happens." I think that's super important. Second, I was given the opportunity to set up the first data and analytics center of excellence in the bank. And at the same time, in case I would get bored, I was also given the great opportunity / challenge to rejuvenate the marketing automation stack of the company. When I signed, I have to be honest, when I signed that contract, I did not really understand the latter part, but based on the kind of projects and initiatives I had before, I thought I am the person for the job. And I think I am still the person for that job. Now, what happened in the marketing automation rejuvenation, I really want to share this because without that, we could not be and do what we're doing today. So it was a very key strategic decision and multi-year investment that I think paid off. So we started with migrating away from a 20-plus-year-old obsolete data warehouse into full public cloud instances. And we were the first ones in the company to do it. And it was quite an exciting ride. We managed to finalize it in 2.5 years, which in banking terms is super fast. It did come with a lot of white hairs. And mind you, we did it during the COVID times, which was not trivial at all. At the same time, we could not just do that and be like, we have a brand new data platform set up and we are good. Absolutely not. We had to look into the customer experience stack and realize that there we have to rationalize, we have to standardize, we have to modernize with best-in-class tooling, which we didn't have in the company. And we have to integrate all these things. And at some point back in 2021, I made an inventory of how many tools we kicked out of the ecosystem.
Okay, kicked out. I wanted to ask, was it just putting new tools in, but it was also kicking out a lot, yeah.
Rationalization was the key, Alex, because
it was all scattered, yeah, kind of. And that makes it very difficult to have an intelligence if it's kind of, in particular in these days, because now with Agentic, maybe you would find solutions, but back then
we
you're
didn't
scattered,
have
you're kind of lost.
Agentic, indeed. Yeah, we did use some primitive Agentic things to migrate away from the data warehouse. So that's
cool.
2020, but it was very limited. And we had to be selective as to what are the standard platforms we want to embrace and make sure that we roll them out bank-wide, which honestly was not popular because every single business line wanted to have their things. Operations wanted to have their own platforms. And we basically came in and said, more than 27 of these existing platforms need to go. And this is the timeline. And this is how we select the new platforms, and we involve you and your requirements, but you will not have all your wish list ticked off because we go for
future wish list.
Wow.
Yes.
So now we were not always very popular, but when things came together, Alex, we were extremely popular because everyone understood from a cost-based perspective, we are doing fantastic compared to before. From an integration perspective, speed, differentiation,
What's the time
will
span?
be a better place.
What's the time span? Because I think you said, we were not popular until it clicked. How long did you have to go through this tough period, Because this is important also for people to,
3 years, Alex.
3 years.
2.5 years was super intense because we had to migrate away, make choices as to what we completely leave behind, because particularly on the data warehouse side, there were things nobody understood anymore. And then what is the point of migrating something which is unintelligible? 2.5 years, I would say, was the most intense period. Again, also during COVID, we had to grow a lot. I had to triple my capacity in the middle of 2020 when we were all working from home, and we would not see each other. And then so much had to happen. We were selecting all these platforms and we had to deploy them bank-wide. And I have to say, one of my roles during that period was to just prove to everybody that we can do it. We can do it on time, in line with the timeline that we committed against, and we don't lose the users in the process. And we managed.
Impressive. And so can you give us some numbers in terms of how many tools you had before this transformation and how many tools afterwards? Like, did you downsize or did you replace the number of tools?
We downsized.
You downsize. Okay, it's very clearly. So just roughly a ballpark, just to get a feel for that.
On the data platform side, we had one, as I said, obsolete, massive, misused data warehouse. We went from one giant to, top of my head, because right now it's different, 4 public cloud instances. At the time, I could not convince half of the executive board members that we can migrate directly to one. So every single business line wanted to have their own instance.
Like domain-specific instance of the same technology, I guess. Yeah, it's like instance of the same.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And
probably actually, something to do with Databricks since you won awards, but yeah.
Microsoft, Databricks, and a few more, indeed. Yeah. And that's what we did the first 3 years. And I'm happy that 2 years ago we said, we actually do not need that many instances, and our work is bank-wide anyway. So how about we move away, we rationalize from 5 instances, public cloud, into 1. So right now we have 1. That's data platform side. And trust me, it works. So that's data platform. And if I look into the customer experience tooling, and just to be a bit more specific as to what is that and what do we need? Well, we don't need everything under the sun, first of all, but we do need a customer journey orchestration platform. We only have 1. We used to have probably more than 10, and they were not covering the same spectrum of functionality that we have today. We need a customer outreach platform. We used to have more than 5. And the customer outreach solutions before, they only focused on the digital channels, but now we focus on the digital and the human channels with only 1 solution. Is it still fit for the future, this solution that we've chosen in 2021? I'll be honest, it's not. Yeah. We are currently replacing it.
Yeah.
It's normal.
And then we will continue to see an acceleration of things. So that's normal, but it's still much easier than replacing 5 now, just going from one to the next.
Absolutely. And now we can be critical and say, looking at our ambition as a company towards 2030 and our customer ambition towards 2028, we know that this tool has reached the top of its capabilities, so we need to change it. And we are currently in the course of selecting a new one. Real-time event management was a big deal, Alex. We never had something like this. So if you ask me, what did you kick out to bring this in? Nothing, because we had nothing of this nature. And what I think really helped this company, so ABN AMRO, is that we decided early on, back in 2020, that's already 6 years ago, that we would embrace standard analytics and AI tooling. Of course, a hybrid in between our preferred partners, I mentioned a few, and some self-built components, which we actually elevate every single year. Continuous effort. I think that brings
Interesting.
everyone in the bank and
Yeah.
efficiency and clarity. I'm happy we went that way, basically, and we are still on that path. I think that also makes a
Amazing.
difference. And also something that happened 3 years ago, Alex, which I think could inspire more to just rethink things, not necessarily go the same path, but think of this option. 3 years ago, I was asked to, and I said, finally, to centralize all the data products, analytics, and AI solutions across the entire front office organization. And ever since, with actually way limited capacity than before, we are delivering more, faster, and with more, if I can call it, healthy competition and cross-spilling across the customer segments. Because maybe one thinks of functionality like the one I described and the other one doesn't, then we are there to link these dots and say, we have delivered this for wealth management. How about you, dear consumer, also think of this? And then they're like, yeah, why didn't you think of that? Yeah, well, we are here to also link some of these dots. So I think I also want to mention that.
And so let's unpack that for a moment. So when you say that you kind of centralize some of the data products, do you mean data as a product? Do you mean data sets? Or do you mean analytics products and AI products that were standardized, or a mixture of them?
Let me clarify. So in ABN AMRO, 2 years ago, we said we would embrace a federated data governance model with a number of defined data domains. I'm the happy owner of the customer interaction and engagement data domain. In this data domain, we have a total of 12 data products that we continuously evolve and we offer to the rest of the organization. And I'll take one example, the commercial segmentation of our clients. That is a bank-wide data product that we offer to others and we utilize ourselves. That is ultimately, to stay real, it is still complex, but it's an integrated data set.
Right. So an integrated data set that you offer, and people can use that in their BI tools and other places.
Exactly.
For AI, for anything they need to do.
Exactly. And what is key, Alex, is the majority of our, not all of them, to be honest, but we're getting there. The majority of them are already, I think the term is AI ready, but it's basically machines are capable of reading that data, which is not trivial. So we started more than 1.5 years ago, and I would say we are 50% done, and we still have half of the journey to walk through, but that helps a lot. In addition to that, we have, of course, I said it a few times, we have analytical artifacts. They range from customer insights that are being utilized by thousands of people in the bank, more than 8,000 active customers. We have cockpits, we call them, and those are very personalized dashboards, performance, particularly dashboards. We have commercial dashboards. So you hear the word dashboard, that's still a thing. We try to move away from it. We try to have a chat-like interface where employees of ABN AMRO just ask their question in natural language and they get the insight in real time, which they can trust. We are working on it with Microsoft. It's not yet ready, so we still have to rely on our analytical artifacts. And of course, we have the AI portfolio, where I've shared a couple of things already. And in terms of flavors of AI, I think we probably have it all. The only thing I did not mention, and I probably should have, in addition to generative AI solutions that we have and we offer internally, but not facing the customer yet, we do have a multi-agent live for a month now.
Ooh. Can you
And
say
it's
what it does?
Yes, I can. I hope my colleagues appreciate it, but let's say, and it is customer facing, which I think is fun and very scary at the same time. So this very first multi-agent that we have live consists of 3 agents that understand the customer intent and schedule an appointment automatically, eventually in our chatbot Anna, so on the mobile banking app environment. And I have to be honest, we cut, let's say, the development in 2 because we could not do it in one go. So we have 2 phases. Now we've completed the first phase. So the appointment is not automatically made in the chatbot yet. It is made in the web environment. So shortly, I hope we can actually complete it and have this done with the customers in real time and working. And it might sound trivial, but it was quite a journey.
Yeah. And maybe this is the last one, the thing that I would like to uncover with you, your AI journey, because I remember that your company and your CEO embraced AI very, very early when Gen AI, was coming up, with ChatGPT came out. In that same, like, if only 1 or 2 months later, is that right? He started to embrace it, and you started pilots. Can you tell us a bit about it, like over the crazy wild, wild west times? Because I think this is super inspirational for you.
Well, Alex, I didn't tell you about it, so I'm actually surprised to know.
You did.
Sure.
You were in a panel.
Oh, in the panel. All right,
I
you're
know.
absolutely
I
right.
remember. I remember when people tell me things.
It's like ancient history because it happened quite a while ago. But again, I'm happy you brought it up. So, as a company, I think we took quite a bet. And let me remember the year. It was somewhere, I think it was November 2024, from the top of my head. That's when, and the CEO at the time, and everyone in ABN AMRO learned that we have an ABN AMRO GPT, so a local version that we co-developed with OpenAI, available to everyone in the organization.
And that was directly after ChatGPT kind of launched, like a few months later. Is that correct?
Exactly. And
So,
that's
not like
because,
now, like it's this is we're talking 2024, correct?
correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that we thought we would not pull that off, to be very honest, because again, we did not want to launch it and say we first release it to, I don't know, 500 employees, and then we go to 2,000, 2,500, etc. Mind you, we have like 25,000 employees, so quite a big chunk of eager people to utilize these things. And it was back in 2024. We did it. And we did it because we had we still have, by the way, a great partnership with Microsoft. And sometimes we are being offered the possibility to co-develop with them so that, it's a win-win. On the one hand side, we as a company get to play around at that point. Right now, it's part of our DNA, everyday sort of rhythm. We have Copilot at the same time. And we've adopted it across the board. But also, I believe companies like Microsoft, not that they need the extra publicity, but they can also showcase that things are possible at scale, also in banking.
And so is there any particular case in Gen AI that you can mention, that you would like to mention, just as an inspiration? Because you've been doing a lot in that space, I mean, it's since 2024, we're in 2026.
Yeah. Let me choose one. I think it's safe to share, and I actually think it's not applicable just to banking. So I think any company out there, if you guys and girls are not doing it, what are you doing? Me being a little bit cheeky. So I even will call it by its name because the name has been catchy from the very first moment when we talked about it. And mind you, we didn't have it. So when we started to PR it, so to say, it was not existing, but it caught up instantaneously. It's called Feedbacky. And what Feedbacky does is it integrates, not yet in real time, but we're getting there, the customer feedback across all the digital channels. And it brings those insights in near real time at the fingertips of all the decision makers that need to do something with those insights. And the palette is really wide. And the decisions are being made at strategic level because we have metrics such as NPS, which are super important, but also at tactical and operational levels. And, it started with a dashboard because we had to start somewhere. We said, we will provide you with a dashboard and you can actually listen actively to the voice of our customers across all the customer base. It evolves into a chatbot, so it becomes easier to interact with it. But I think, honestly, that's one of the solutions that came from the brilliant brains of a data analyst that had to analyze this data, I wouldn't say manually, but with a lot of pain, sweat, and tears. And they said, why don't we have something like this? And it could be an LLM. And we did it. And it's great.
Amazing. Alex, you wanted to tell us a joke. Let's finish up with that one about AI.
Awesome. And for people who know me, I'm really not good at telling jokes, but this one stuck with me, and I heard it 2 days ago at our AI Agents Day. So brace yourselves. The user says, I want to wash my car. Car wash is 50 meters from here. Should I walk or drive? The LLM responds, walk. It's just 50 meters. That's barely a minute on foot. Driving that short a distance would honestly be more hassle than it's worth. Leg up and go. And even they put an emoticon of someone walking. And I remind you all, the ask was, I want to wash my car. So I think that pretty much captures where we are with LLMs, unless the context and the instructions are spot on.
Amazing.
Is it funny, Alex? I hope it's funny.
Love it. Yeah, it's a great one. It's a really good one, and it triggers so much thoughts in me about AI these days. Let's close with something we haven't discussed. Like there are two things more that you want to discuss, and you can pick and choose if you like to. Just 1 or 2 more minutes. One is you said, like, going forward, there are some heated debates about architecture. Can you give us a glimpse into that?
I had the feeling you would pick up on that. Yeah. Let me try to put my thoughts in order, because I won't lie, there's quite some emotion that goes into the debate, right? So I think we have two things right now in the organization, and I'm sure we're not the only ones. So on the one hand side, we have I call it architecture limbo moment around everything robust, production ready, agentic architecture. And I can tell you in a moment what are the pain areas and why. And at the same time, we have a heated debate, particularly with our senior management, on the buy integrated suite ideas, and still having the principle of buy first, reuse, then build.
The classical IT kind of paradigm.
Indeed.
Yes.
And when we as a company have a clear direction towards a modular ecosystem strategy, I think you can understand the contention points here, right? And where the heated debate comes from.
Yeah.
And moreover, Alex, we as ABN AMRO want to become a fluid organization that operates in a wide ecosystem, even beyond banking. And again, it's not a unique ambition. I think that's the ambition of a lot of innovative companies out there in different industries. We do have that ambition. And then the reality says we are missing quite some clarity on core modular components for agentic AI and agentic AI integration. Not going to list them all. I think they're quite well known. We still have not decided upon architectural design principles that we fully want to embrace bank-wide. I will mention 2 here because I think they are applicable to everyone, not just to financial services. So modularity and scalability. We embrace microservices. It's super key that the way we set up agentic AI follows the same path, right? Tool augmentation capabilities, where we start giving agents skills rather than expect them to do text generation. That requires a lot of courage from the organization, because let's be real, it will change the way we operate. And that has to be part of our DNA going forward. It's not really the case today. Also, very critical things like common frameworks and tools. We talked a lot about decision intelligence engine and orchestration, but going forward with agents, we need a way to orchestrate these agents, and there are multiple options. Do we go Landgraph, Crew AI, AutoGen, or something else? What protocols do we want to embrace? I think there we almost made the choice towards an MCP, Model Context Protocol, an agent-to-agent integration, but it's still not clear, so limbo. At the same time, Alex, I want to mention 2 things where I think we're nailing it after a long period of debate. So one is the production hardening and safety. Honestly, sometimes we joke about it, but we could offer this as a service to other companies even because we have it so well in place. Think of guardrails, human in the loop. We have too many humans in the loop right now. So on the cost side, I sometimes wonder if we are doing it right. Probably not yet. Explainability is for us a very big deal because as a company, our promise to every single one of our customers is that we provide 100% trust and safety all times.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean,
Last-
that's what a bank must do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If we don't offer that, then we probably would not exist anymore. And the last one here, which is critical, particularly for agents, and we sort of do it well for GenAI right now, is resilience and failure recovery.
That's important, yeah.
And we are doing it well because the whole last year, for instance, we did not put anything in front of the customers by choice. We only focused on internal solutions, particularly towards cost saving or employee augmentation. And we refine these things to the point where we are more and more confident and comfortable to also
and learned it how to
customers.
operate it. And
Exactly.
yeah, amazing.
Yeah. And
amazing. What a
agent
journey.
technologies, we now know what is a single agent, when to use it, when is a multi-agent required. Simple things that need to be understood before we just ram on.
Yeah. And I think what you call limbo, I would say those are the crucial conversations of 2026 we have to have in such environments. And so you're leading it, so that's great. And so how do you kind of enable your C-level, to be part of this journey? Because I don't think everyone is AI native here, probably in the board.
For sure not. And I also don't think it's really fair to ask of your executive board of directors to do everything they do in their day-to-day jobs and overnight almost become AI native or AI ready. To begin with, Alex, I am really proud of our AI strategy that we launched. It's the first one we've ever had, by the way. And we launched it last year in November. And it was launched at the same time with our new strategy as a company and during the Capital Markets Day. So it was pretty eventful of a day. I even remember it, 25th of November, because so many things happened. And then we all heard the story and read the strategy, the AI strategy in particular. And I'm not lying when I say I felt proud. I really felt understood. I felt we are pushing ourselves big time and we have a plan. That doesn't mean that the C-level suite of great individuals understand it and understand the journey that we have to lay ahead of us, but it's an excellent foundation. So that's one. Two, there's a lot of hype, in all the offsites of these people, probably 50% of their time as a minimum is spent on AI. But in all fairness, we don't need AI for everything. And that's something we, as data leaders, need to educate our senior management on. When do you require AI? Do you require AI? Are you aware of the risks versus the opportunity that is brought by AI? Which flavor of AI do we need? We don't just need armies of agents everywhere. Absolutely not. So I think this is probably one key part of my job that I love the most. Because when our senior leaders understand key aspects, they can enable us in our journey towards 2028 and 2030.
Amazing. Alex, this was absolutely an awesome podcast. I so much enjoyed listening to your stories, to what you accomplished with your team. It's amazing. It's incredible. It's visionary. It's strong on execution, and it's definitely an inspiration to a lot of us in the community. So, and doing that in a banking environment is simply incredible. So congratulations, and thank you so much for sharing your stories.
Well, Alex, thank you so much for having me.
Always a pleasure. Thanks.
Data Masterclass, where great data journeys begin.